Every time you think the Meghan Markle story has reached its final act, a new twist appears out of nowhere. The headlines quiet down for a week or two, the royal gossip fades, and then boom, another explosion hits the spotlight. But this time, it isn't from a palace insider or a royal commentator. It's supposedly from a prison cell. And the name behind the whispers? Ghislaine Maxwell. Yes, that Maxwell, the woman whose name became forever linked to Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted figure at the heart of one of the darkest scandals of our generation. From the shadows of a cell, her alleged words have rippled through the media, pulling Meghan Markle's name into the storm once again. The story, as told in tabloids and corners of the internet, claims Maxwell hinted at something shocking: a mysterious document, a so-called CV that doesn't read like a resume from an actress or humanitarian, but something far more compromising. The way it's framed sounds straight out of a thriller, an unseen file that could, if it ever surfaced, flip the public image of Meghan Markle upside down. Nobody has seen it, nobody has verified it, but the idea alone has caught fire. According to the online chatter, this alleged CV isn't about film roles or charity work. It's described in whispers as being linked to adult-themed circles, private entertainment, and people of influence. The phrase that keeps echoing in the story, "playing the adult game," is vague enough to deny, but vivid enough to stick in people's minds. It paints a picture without ever saying what that picture really is. And that's the trick. Because in the world of modern scandal, sometimes suggestion is more powerful than proof. Meghan Markle has spent years building her image, the Hollywood actress turned duchess, the independent woman who walked away from royal constraints, the modern voice of empowerment. But when a story like this starts to spread, that image becomes fragile. Because this isn't just social media gossip, the rumor was supposedly tied to statements made behind prison walls, allegedly from someone with insider knowledge of the circles Epstein and his associates moved in. And that's where things start to sound dangerous. The story goes further, dragging in names that have already been through the fire: Prince Andrew, Virginia Giuffre, and the web of lawsuits that exposed how Epstein's empire operated. It's said that Virginia's legal team once considered Meghan as someone who might have been aware of certain royal connections, not as a victim, not as a stranger, but as someone who knew. Whether or not that's true is another matter entirely. There's no official record confirming any of it, but once the idea is out there, it gains momentum on its own. In this version of events, Meghan isn't portrayed as an outsider looking in. She's depicted as someone who might have moved close to power before her royal marriage. The video commentary says she wasn't just a face on the periphery of royal circles, but a close companion of Prince Andrew, a phrase loaded with implications. Because if someone has proximity, that means access. Access to rooms, to conversations, to knowledge. It doesn't make the allegations true, but it makes them sound just believable enough to keep people watching. This is how rumor becomes spectacle. The audience leans in. They start connecting dots that may not exist. Meghan, the former actress. Prince Andrew, the royal embroiled in scandal. Maxwell, the fallen socialite behind bars. 3 names, 1 storm. The narrative continues by questioning Meghan's honesty, using past controversies as fuel. Remember the Finding Freedom book? When Meghan first distanced herself from its authors, her lawyers even argued she had no involvement. Then came the court documents, emails, notes, small digital footprints that showed she did, in fact, provide background input. It wasn't a criminal act, but it was a blow to her credibility. That's what the rumor mill loves. Once someone's been caught bending the truth, even slightly, it becomes easier to cast doubt the next time around. So when her name gets tied, no matter how loosely to a story this dark, her silence becomes its own headline. She hasn't released a statement, hasn't threatened legal action, hasn't even acknowledged the chatter. Instead, her public image continues through glossy photo shoots, wellness branding, and carefully curated appearances. To her supporters, that's professionalism. To her critics, it's evasion. In a world driven by perception, silence can be louder than denial, because when someone faces a false accusation, the instinct is usually to fight back. But when the response is nothing, the speculation keeps breathing. And that's the paradox Meghan now faces. Whether she speaks or stays silent, both paths carry risk. Even the storytellers behind these viral videos acknowledge that Maxwell's credibility is nearly non-existent. She's a convicted participant participant in one of the most notorious criminal networks of our time. But that irony, the fact that someone like Maxwell can still spark a media wildfire, is part of what makes this saga so potent. The source may be tainted, but the story thrives anyway, feeding off curiosity and public fascination. Because let's be honest, people don't just want gossip about the royals, they want scandal. They want a peek behind the curtain, a suggestion that the perfect image is just an illusion. And when you combine a fallen Duchess narrative with whispers from Epstein's circle, it becomes clickbait gold. The video narrative builds toward a hypothetical doomsday scenario. What if that alleged CV ever emerged? What if someone leaked it? Or it appeared in a court discovery? Or was used as leverage in another investigation? Even if it turned out to be fabricated, the damage would already be done. Once the internet has a piece of evidence, whether real or fake, it spreads faster than the truth can catch up. For Meghan, whose brand now leans heavily on authenticity and self-made independence, that kind of rumor is poison. Because perception can destroy faster than facts can repair. The media wouldn't wait for verification. The headlines would come first, the corrections much later. The speculative story continues to spiral, painting a picture of Meghan trapped between two impossible choices. If she speaks out, she risks amplifying the story. If she stays quiet, she risks being seen as hiding something. Either way, the spotlight doesn't move, it burns brighter. And every post, every appearance, every business move she makes becomes re-examined through the lens of the rumor. In this atmosphere, Ghislaine Maxwell doesn't even need to prove anything. All she, or rather, the story told about her needs to do is whisper. The rest unfolds on its own. The internet fills in the blanks, the commentators speculate, and the cycle feeds itself. The danger isn't in whether the document exists, it's in how believable the idea feels to an audience already conditioned to see Meghan as controversial. This is the modern scandal machine, a mix of half-truths, suggestive language, and emotional storytelling, designed to make people choose sides. And the Meghan Markle saga is tailor-made for it. She's polarizing, she's powerful, she's already fought the press before, but even she can't fight a ghost file that may or may not exist. As the story circles back to where it started, the narrator points out that Maxwell's words, real or fabricated, carry symbolic power. From behind prison walls, she represents a fallen elite, a woman who once moved among the world's most influential. So, when her name crosses paths with Meghan's, it creates instant shock value. Whether or not there's any substance, the combination itself guarantees attention. And so, the speculative video concludes with a haunting thought. If a single document could appear and rewrite Meghan's public story, what would happen to everything she's built? The charities, the brand deals, the podcasts, the television projects, all could crumble under the weight of perception alone. Because once an audience suspects there's more to the story, the trust is gone. But step back for a moment and look at what's really happening. This isn't an investigation, it's a digital fable, a story about fame, secrecy, and the power of suggestion. In the court of public opinion, truth doesn't always matter as much as narrative control. Ghislaine Maxwell from a cell has become a character in that narrative. Meghan Markle, on the outside, remains another. One imprisoned by scandal, the other by speculation. And maybe that's the lesson underneath the drama. In today's media world, all it takes is a rumor with the right name attached to send the internet into a frenzy. You don't need proof, you just need timing. And while no credible evidence supports the claims in this story, the fact that people still share and debate, it shows how powerful myth-making can be. As the outro music swells, the voiceover fades with a chilling summary. In the end, it doesn't matter whether the alleged CV exists. What matters is the perception that it might. And in that perception, every silence, every denial, every photo becomes a clue. Because once the spark is lit, the fire of public fascination doesn't care about truth, it just wants to burn.